Man, how am I supposed to study all of this? I need to know the key points of periods 1 through 5.
Well, now you can. In this video, we will be explaining the key points from periods 1 through 5. Christopher Columbus was funded by the Spanish monarchs to find a western route to Asia. He was motivated by God, gold, and glory. The Spanish treated the natives unfairly, settling on their land and taking all of their resources. They forced natives into an encomienda system where they worked to receive care from the Spanish.
Europeans began to colonize the New World, starting with Jamestown in 1607. Virginia created the House of Burgesses, which was the first representative assembly. Colonists began to speak out against Great Britain. An example of this would be the Zinger trial, where a New York newspaper editor spoke out against the governor of New York.
The French and Indian War, or the 7 Years' War, began because France and England wanted to occupy land in the Ohio River Valley. After that, a series of acts were passed by Great Britain that angered the colonies. These acts included the Sugar Act, which made a tax on foreign sugar, the Quartering Act, which forced colonists to provide homes for British soldiers that were in the land, and the Stamp Act, which taxed stamps and other paper products. Because of this, the Stamp Act Congress coined the phrase, "no taxation without representation." The Townshend Acts taxed tea, glass, and paper. After this was the Boston Massacre. This happened because of riots in the streets of angry colonists, and British soldiers killed 5 innocent people. After that was the Boston Tea Party, where colonists dumped all the British tea into the Boston port. This caused the Intolerable Acts, or the Coercive Acts. The first shots of the Revolutionary War were fired in Lexington and Concord, while the Second Continental Congress wrote the Declaration of Independence. The Revolutionary War ended with the Treaty of Paris, and the United States government adopted the Articles of Confederation. However, they failed due to a lack of central government. After that, the Constitution of the United States was created.
Jefferson became president during the election of 1800. The U.S. asked France for the New Orleans Territory, but instead, because they needed money to fund their war against Britain, we received the entire Louisiana Territory, which nearly doubled the size of the U.S. The War of 1812 began due to western border disputes, and the Missouri Compromise allowed Missouri to enter the Union as a slave state, while Maine entered the Union as a free state. The Monroe Doctrine declared that any interference from any European powers in the Western Hemisphere would be considered an act of war. The Indian Removal Act was passed under President Jackson in 1830. This meant that Indians were forced to move west on what they named the Trail of Tears.
Boundary disputes with Mexico led to war and gave America the Mexican Cession. The Compromise of 1850 admitted California to the Union as a free state. It made Utah and New Mexico able to choose whether or not they would be a free state or a slave state by way of vote. It banned the slave trade in Washington, D.C., and adopted the Fugitive Slave Law. The Kansas-Nebraska Act allowed settlers in those states to decide whether or not they would be a slave or a free state. After that, the Civil War began in 1861 and lasted until 1865. During the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln made the Emancipation Proclamation, which made the war strictly about slavery. After the war began the Reconstruction period and the creation of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th stated that all people born in the United States, regardless of race, are given equal rights, and the 15th gave African Americans the right to vote.